Bull jeans say one good 30 minutes lasts a lifetime. I am a lone star, flying through the midnight sky.
The significance of today for me is, you know, Sharon is my mom. I've watched my mom through the years be an artist, deal with so many ups and downs, and yet here she is, got like 2-3 books, now feeling like she's finally getting all of her flowers. She's always gotten it from her community, from her people. And I just love that today is about her receiving, her not having to do any labor, her just showing up and receiving all the love that's here for her.
We love Sharon Bridgforth. And we love Bull Jean. And you just helped me to embody some of her work. On page 95, you will find clap, 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 which we know as the clave in certain parts of the world. So thank you for embodying that and getting us started.
All right, welcome. It is so good to have you all here. It is so good to see your faces. My name is Leigh Robbie Gaymon-Jones, and I am the director of The Nest, who is hosting this party. To kick it off, I'm gonna invite my sis to come on up and say a thing or two.
So, every time Shiny come by, old Caney Sharp get to banging he cane on the porch, rocking and crying, talking about they hear, thank the Lord they hear. He calls Shiny over, snatch Shiny in for deep eyeball stares to look like Shiny get dizzy. Then old Caney Sharp push Shiny on with he cane and get to singing songs from before in old folk language that we can't hardly understand, but do. So in the spirit of old Caney Sharp, I just want to say, we here. We are here, and thank the Lord we are here today. Y'all, we have survived a pandemic. We have survived so many soul-crushing things because we are here in family and community, and I am so honored. We are all here for Bull Jean and for you, and to a culmination of over 30 years of you saying yes. So thank you. And with that, I'm gonna pass the mic to my family, Daniel.
All right, I'll speak in this one, then shift over. So hello to everyone and welcome. We are in such a crucial time. We all know this. And as a student of history, I have to ask a question. And that question is always, why are we doing what we do? Why are we doing what we do? We spend so much time doing it, figuring out how to do it, how to keep doing it, how to keep them from stopping to make us do it, et cetera, et cetera. Why are we doing it? And the why for me comes back to this with Sharon Bridgforth. Sharon will tell you that her great inspiration as a little kid was Langston Hughes, right? Right? In fact, you said that was your husband, right?
My husband.
That was your husband, right? That's right, yeah. I think everybody should have a husband, just to keep one over there. Just have one over there. That's right. And of late, I've been looking back at the history of lineage and thinking about who we come from as artists, as citizens. And our artistic family line traces back to Langston Hughes. It traces back to Zora Neale Hurston. It traces back to figures who fundamentally said, in regarding the Black experience, in regarding the Black queer experience, will I start with the assault on my being, or will I start with love? Will I abide in love? Will I understand love as the nuclear engine of not only my survival, but my transformative transcendence? Will I come back to the fact that I love myself and I love my people? And that is what suffuses everything that you do, that love. And I'm gonna tell you, the American theater writ large is not about that love. And they're not about that love because when you bring that love in the room, everything that stands as a measure of value falls away. And something else comes in its place, something wild, something dangerous, something beautiful, something challenging, and something so crazy that you only look back later and you be like, we did what? Right? And so that to me is the spirit with which you walk, and I want to invite you up now. Let's get into it.
Thank you to all of you for your love and your ongoing support, and thank you to all that are with us. Bull Jean, it was around 1994 when I first encountered Bull Jean inside of myself. I had been out as a queer person. I felt many-gendered, but I didn't have language for that. And so I kind of got put in a box called butch. And it always felt like too tight for me, but I wanted to explore through a character that was a lesbian who did identify as butch what that might mean, especially if that character spoke and lived from her heart and not from a place of replicating internalized patriarchal harm, right? And so simultaneously, I was managing cases for the syphilis department in Austin, Texas, and I was with the first wave of HIV outreach workers and activists that were doing street outreach. And part of my job was not only to bring services to people, but sometimes to find people. And I would get sent to Miss So-and-so who lived with Miss So-and-so over by the church, who my grandmother would say was a bull dagger. And, I became curious, I think, and I wondered ways that I felt wrong in my body and experience as someone who did love women, that didn't have a lot of language or examples that I could easily recognize as like reflections of what I felt inside, what I knew myself inside to be. I started imagining, well, what if we were part of the community and not separate from it? And I did a lot of research, and in truth, we were. Of course, we were. So Bull Jean started quietly speaking then, but I think Bull Jean really came through two things. One, the relatives on my mom's side who were older than her had died, and I missed them, and I wanted to hear them. And so I started writing like in their voice. Not that they actually spoke like that, but in my spirit, I think I was channeling my love of them and therefore their love of me. And then two, I think Bull Jean came through to help me get sober and to help me release being in cycles of unrequited love. And so in the Bull Jean stories, which was originally published in 1998, I consider them, I feel like this soul, Bull Jean's soul, returns through many lifetimes trying to learn her life lesson, which is to love herself, to receive love, to be available to love. And I used to, I feel that feeling unloved was a serious life issue. And I used to blame other people. And then I realized, as my dear friend Lori Wilson, who helped me get sober, said, well, fucker, everywhere you go, there you are. And so
Sharon's work matters to me and to our communities because it is a reflection of us, the spiritual components of it, the love, the honoring. I can see myself reflected in every bit of it. It is moving, it is heartfelt, and it is so necessary to have Sharon's work continue. Came across her work 25, 30 years ago, and it's still relevant and even more necessary 30 years later.
But tell me why it's important to you as an artist that your work doesn't live solely in printed form, but that it ends up being embodied. Why is that important to you? And maybe can you talk about the lineage of art or artists that impacted you to think about art that way?
I didn't share my work until I was 30. I had suitcases of work. So I was before then that I'd never shared. And so I was free to be in my own imagination. And with the bulging stories, I think it carried me into my writing voice, which is a blues voice. But as an artist, I'm a jazz artist. And so that's my cousin right there. We come from, we New Orleans people, we are jazz. And it is a different spiritual and energetic embodiment of possibility and stories that I think because I was so curious and in love with my family and watching them, my question was, how do I tell stories as good as them? I have these images of my father. My father is her father's brother. I have images of my father just reared back laughing. And in the face of everything that people of their generation had to face, how can they laugh? How can they love so hard? How can they be so raucous and wrong and good at the same time? I am so curious. I aspire to be as joyful and as loving as them. I aspire to use the tools that they use to help make a better way for us. So gathering, dancing, eating, showing up for people. And so for me, the page, my heart's desire was to use the page as a canvas to hold those stories, which to me, it's Black music. It's the language. It's Black language that is music, and so it has to be performed. It can't just sit there. It can sit there, and it needs to do this, this, and that too. And so thankfully, you, Lori Carlos, Robbie McCulley, Raul Salinas, Marsha Ann Gomez, Cherie Moraga, there's a long list of people that just looked at me and took me in and loved me and helped me, and I was too stubborn, like my family, and too ignorant, because I really didn't know what I was doing, thank God, because I would have thought I couldn't do it and I wouldn't have done it. But I was so stubborn, and there was such a spirit of wanting to praise and hear, feel, and be with my family. And then artistically, I had places to lean and be held and pushed.
Thank you. Another question that's connected to that, in your work, one of the things that's so central is your ontology. The ideas about past, present, and future, the living, the dead, what dimension, what material reality we are in, as framed by the dominant cultural experience we've all inherited here in the United States of America, is not what you knew, and is not what was suffusing the experience of those members of your family that were part of the Great Migration, right? And so there's a way in your work that when we enter it, everything starts to move. It's a different physics, right? And I want to know from you if you might actually talk a bit about what you have learned about spirit as a writer. Because it's no joke to me that this book is coming out now. What do you feel called to as an artist at this time with regard to spirit?
Yeah, I think because I was left to my own devices for so long as a writer, and because I was really grieving, and then, yes, a lot of rigor, a lot of hard work, a lot of collaboration, a lot of training, a lot of trying things and then doing things and going back to it. But ultimately, I just wanted to hear and feel my family. And thank God I knew that at the end of the day, it wasn't about me. So I knew that at the end of the day, this was an act of service. So it was something that I committed myself to, and I knew that because I have been a touring artist for so long and returned to places and had returning long-term ongoing conversations with people and communities. I knew that the deeper I went in, the more our humanities could connect and heal each other. And so I always start with, like, whatever it is that most needs to be healed in me is the place to start. So go right to the wound. I just go right in there and break my heart open. And so what I know is Spirit is there, the ancestors are there, God is there. I'm better because I went there. I got, you know, we talk every day. Yeah. You know, I got people that'll pick me up and, you know, help me lean and push me forward. But also, because I think initially I was looking at how my family told stories, the simultaneity, polyrhythmic, you know, so like basically in my mom's house, you know, they say the eagle fly on Friday, so they party till Sunday, and then they listen to the church on the radio, and then Monday they go to work. But you know, at the parties, dancing, singing, laughing, praying, cooking, somebody crying, usually some lies, somebody telling some lies somewhere, like all of that. And like with my dad and my stepmom, you know, then you add in that extra, you know, you got extra sound happening, you got extra prayers happening. It's a little fast beat and the rhythm varies, and the dead are always there. Their names are called. And whether they call them altars or not, they're being revered. And they're being lifted and elevated. And so I looked to them and then later did research, you know, and I'm a spiritual seeker. I've been a part of a lot of different kinds of spiritual practices and communities.
Sharon has raised an entire generation of artists. I wouldn't be an artist if it weren't for Sharon Bridgforth. I'm reading a passage today, and when I opened it up, I thought she wrote this for me to read right now. And that's Sharon's writing. It's urgent, it's necessary. It teaches us the things that we need to learn to change our lives, to change the lives of our community and our people. And she is light.
I can't do this. I can't feel all those feelings. I refuse to fall all the way out. So I stiffen my back, my tears, and will the depth of my feelings be quiet. I'm afraid. But I will learn to soften the hard of the rocked over stagnant stench of my heart. I will learn to laugh instead of snapping, to stretch and turn and shift instead of worrying as I run away. I will learn to cry, to rest before rising. I will learn to hear the birds singing in the stench of a new dawning. I will learn to be still, to presence myself and breathe. I will learn to offer what I hope to receive. I will learn over and over and over again and over and over and over again to see the light. Maybe.
One of the things I just want to, again, compliment you on is your work. There's no artifice in your work. Nothing. Nothing is fake. Nothing is a structure that doesn't come from a deeply felt and known place, right? Like all of these experiences we've had where it's like, part of the gift is that there are these tendrils that come out of the work that are about inviting presence and inviting connection and community. And I don't think there's a show of yours I've seen or been around that doesn't have a party, that doesn't have hanging out at the coffee shop to talk through something, that doesn't have those quote unquote dark nights of the soul where all of the artists involved have to reckon with where that work intersects with what they're feeling or resisting or engaging. So there's the function of your work is it has a spiritual function, a civic function, a human embodied function. It has a joy function, you know, and it also has a function of resistance that is not about being in resistance, but just the fact of its beauty proclaims space, right? It takes space.
Just these times we're in,
I felt a need to explore how to expand my container to be able to hold grief and sorrow and love and joy and loss and possibility, and to be transgressively joyful in the process. So I decided, after being in all kinds of spiritual practices, all kinds of different ones, that to me the evidence of spirituality is joy. I believe that it is difficult to be joyful, because if I am pissed all the time, if I am letting my rage out all the time, then I am not in fact being joyful, I'm being punitive, you know? And so how do I heal enough to feel what I feel, to be inside of the truth of it, and to be an expression of joy? And so that's been a long journey. And with Bulging We Wake, I feel like that's what I was exploring. And so I feel like it needed the children, it needed the spirits, it needed the forces of nature, it needed the old people down the street, it needed Bulging to express more of her feelings than she had in previous versions. And I think it's why when Daniel, who's my soul brother, does the piece, he's calling it a ritual installation as opposed to a performance, because I think it needs expansive interaction and engagement. I've always been curious about what other people see, know, and want to do with the work. So as a collaborator, I always enter with curiosity, which is why I don't assign lines on the page. I'm curious about what my collaborators know and want to do. Yeah, to be loved and supported. My daughter, Sonja Perryman, I think I'm alive. Honestly, I am not dead from being drunk and angry because of her. Because when I was coming up, I was born in '58. I grew up in South Central LA. It's mostly, you know, Black American Southerners, you know, that migrated there. There wasn't language or representation of who I was inside, outside of me, that I knew of. I found out later it was a whole bunch of queer people in my family and in my school. They were everywhere, but I didn't know. So me and her dad, we were born again Christians, so we got married. I thought that's what you did. You marry your friend. And as soon as I found out I was pregnant, I was like, oh my God, I have nothing to give this child. I know nothing. I was like, who am I? And I had to start telling myself the truth. And the truth that I had to tell myself was, you like women. And so we divorced and we stayed family. You know, I got 6 parents, you know, 2 of them are his parents, and, you know, my dad, my stepmom, my mom, my stepdad. But anyway, we loved her enough to figure out how to love each other and do the best we could with each other. We were a hot mess. But we did the best we could. And then I was like, oh, she could really hold some things against me. But she doesn't, so why am I so pissy with my parents? And my dear wife, who I honestly don't know if I'd be alive without her, Omi Osun Joni L Jones, who championed my work. I'm from here, but I moved to Austin in '89 and Omi moved there in 1990. And I was still in the clubs and running the streets and a hot mess. And we heard that this fine lady has some show over at the community center. And we didn't know what that meant, but we all rolled in. And then we met Dr. Jones. And she championed my work in academic settings early on, and that now, you know, it's like I'm still being blessed by that.
How can I show up for you more? How can I make you feel safe? How can I tell you that we made it? How can I express how perfect you are, just as you are? How can I reveal your strength to you? How can I thank you? How many ways can I say, I love you?
I keep on shining inside, outside, across the great divide. Seems there's always more space between us. The universe grows faster, faster. Seems easy to lose your way on your own. I am a lone star flying through the midnight sky.
May all the courage that you have so desperately walked with circle back and strengthen your next steps. May every act of self-determination that you have enacted return as divine defiance, lighting your way. May all the laughter that you have poured into gatherings spill back into your bones and move you to dance. May your unrequited curiosities, your deep down dreams, every bit of never returned love, each yearning, all your longings, may they show themselves to you unfurled and loosed in light. May regret and grief and shame ungrip your spirit. May you be healed in all directions of time. May you break the bondage of cycles that cause harm. May you soar in new possibilities. May the stars blanket your return within and beyond the veil. May love become you. May you welcome, walk with, and witness those coming. May you be free. Remember, we wake.
We wake.